20 seconds for real, though, not 5 to 10 minutes.
Thank God. I was like, bro, this is the longest 10 seconds. I'm coming in with a strong, here we go.
Bro.
There we go.
Been around the block. Been around the block.
Good?
I can turn mine down.
Go down right there.
Right here.
Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to Been Around the Block, episode 13.
13.
I'm Bradley Nemo Sparks.
Brooks Southard.
Chris Ross.
And today we have a very special guest.
Kandis Decker.
Candace, what's up?
Not a whole lot.
Are you nervous?
I'm real nervous.
It's
so
okay.
I had prayed about an opportunity to give my testimony, and then you posted on Facebook, and I was like, oh, I will do it. And I thought, I did my part. That's how I felt.
Is that odd or is that God? I mean, come
Right.
on. You prayed about that, and then right after that happened. So, there, because we can't speak about certain clubhouses and certain groups, in this book of recovery that I read, in the story, this guy talks about how others would die if he went back out. And that makes me like the lives that you could be saving just by telling your testimony today. And you may never know,
Right.
The viewers, the listeners, you might touch someone's heart and it might spark someone to change just by you simply giving your testimony. And yeah, it's a beautiful thing.
It's biblical.
It really is.
We are saved by the blood of the Lamb and the word of our testimony. So it's
Amen.
also that.
Amen.
That's like the best thing in the world. Like, your story you could save. As long as you save one person, as long as you plant the seed, really, that's all that matters.
A lot of times we don't even know whose lives we will be affecting. Sometimes you'll find out later on down the road, but we have no idea what the plan is in this whole thing. So
We plant the seeds, we water it, God makes it grow. So have you ever done a podcast before?
I have not.
That's okay, because I've never hosted a podcast before I joined this one. So it's kind of new to me, too.
I feel like it's the microphones that make it super official.
Yeah.
You know.
We really need a Been Around the Block logo hanging up back here. So if anybody watching or listening does logos and wants to hook me up with a Been Around the Block logo.
or banner, yep.
Or banner, yeah, draw that up and make that up for us.
You want to have them send it to the email?
Yeah. You want to get the email?
Actually, you guys can send it to the Been Around the Block Facebook page or the Facebook group.
Yeah, it's super early. We usually
We're
don't-
waking up, yeah.
Yeah, we don't usually do the podcast this early. My main thing is, how's the audio on the live?
Anybody?
I know not a lot of people up watching right now, but can we get a thumbs up if the audio on the live is good? Okay, we got a heart.
Your wife says it's good.
Okay, good.
Awesome.
Somebody said throw a plate of noodles at the wall to add some ambiance. So we could maybe do that. So, we got some yogurt we can throw in it.
Awesome. All right. So Candace, you're actually friends with my wife.
I am friends. I work with your wife. She trained me.
She's
At our
watching
job.
right now.
I know. I already talked to her
Do you
this
have
morning.
anything you want to say about her?
Oh, she's great. So we balance each other out because I'm very reactive. Because I went from no boundaries to extreme boundaries. And she's like so laid back. She'll be like, well, that's the unhealed part of them. So we're just going to let them do what they do. And I'm just like, I wish I could do that. I can't do that.
Yeah.
I'm like, my boundary has been violated. Absolutely not. And I'm going to tell you that happened.
Me and her are total opposites.
Really?
Oh my God, yeah. I'm very like extroverted and she's introverted, and like I need her to balance me out because I'm crazy. Like my whole schedule throughout the day is nonstop. Not to mention my sense of humor and just the way my brain works. A lot of people don't understand, and just her support is, man, like, she's awesome.
Those are the relationships that work, because we talked about it at work a couple days ago, that my personality is like yours and my husband's is like hers.
Yeah.
And if I didn't have him to balance out, or I didn't, like, he's reactive too once he hits a certain point. So me, I'm like, I gotta let that go because I don't want him to.
Like, I'm a big dreamer, and she brings me down to earth. You know what I'm saying? Like,
Ground you.
yeah, she grounds me where I'm like, I wanna just fly, spread my wings and fly. And she's like, babe, humble yourself.
The biggest thing I like about her is that she, like, any failures or mistakes, she can just laugh them off. She's like, well,
Yeah.
can't really undo that now, you know. And so that's helped me not only in work, but also the program that I volunteer for, where I am in a position to mentor teenage girls.
Okay.
So I got a compliment at the end of our session this last time that I make it a safe place to make mistakes in.
Awesome.
And that made me feel really good.
So let's talk about that. How long do you have sober?
So I will have 6 years August 1st.
Wow.
That's awesome.
So,
Nice.
yeah.
And let's jump into it then.
Okay, so I have kind of an unconventional journey, really. So my parents were addicts. And so I lived really unstably when I was younger. We were homeless. When it got really bad, I got passed off to family members, you know, and so I never really got an opportunity to develop who I was and what my worth was as a person. And so that kind of progressed. Like, when we were younger, we got bullied, me and my sister. We were the smelly kids. We were the kids that didn't have anything. It was really hard. And so in those moments, I developed a personality trait of not being a burden. So I tolerated a lot of things that most of the time you wouldn't have to tolerate. And it's because I wanted people to like me, which in a lot of journeys of recovery and a lot of people I've heard speak, like, that's a common denominator in it, was wanting to be accepted, wanted people to like them. And so we were in California. I'm from Eureka, California. I'm from Northern California. And I grew up there. And so my parents' addiction has gotten really bad again. And I was living with my grandparents because we had lost our house. And my sister had moved in with her boyfriend. I was about 14 and she was 16. So she had moved in with her boyfriend and her family. So it was literally just me.
Is that the only sibling you have?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
And so my parents decided, in order to run away from their addiction, they were going to move to Oklahoma because we're from here. My dad's family is from here. And my grandpa lived here, and we had land in Tahlequah. So when I was about to turn 16, we moved to Tahlequah. So my parents started drinking because what else are you going to do in Tahlequah? There's really not a whole lot to do, you know?
Are you native? Mm-hmm. There's a lot of natives in Tahlequah.
Yeah.
Shout out Tahlequah.
So they drank and drank and drank. And we ended up getting a house. We lived with my grandpa for quite a while, for some years, until I graduated high school. And so then we moved into a trailer park, and all of the trailer park situations happened there, you know. And so they worked jobs from 6 at night until 6 in the morning. So I moved with them because I really wanted to have parents. I never had parents, you know. And so I did whatever I wanted. They were literally gone all the time. So I drank, And then the family that I found was, for lack of a better phrase, like the hood people. You know, that's who I hung out with. And that's where I was on holidays and birthdays and all of that. And so that's how I started selling weed. You know, I had started college, and I had a son before that in a super abusive relationship. And when I called the cops one night, the Cherokee Marshal Service told me that because it was his family's house, they couldn't let me take my son with me if I left. So I left him.
And how old are you at this time?
19.
How
20.
old were you when you had your son?
I was 19 when I had him, so I was probably right around 20.
Okay.
Then. So then I drank and did all the things, you know, just like college type level things. Like, it wasn't something that consumed me at that point in time, but I took ecstasy pills, smoked a lot of weed. We did coke every now and again, you know. And then I really missed my son, so I went back. And I had another son. And the same thing happened. And so at that point in time, I had to walk away from my kids. Ooh, I might cry. That sucks. So I had to walk away from my kids again. And that's when my addiction became a problem. Sorry. So at that time, I didn't really have a way to make money. There's not a lot of jobs there. So I became an exotic dancer. And, you know, everything that I did, like whatever you needed to me to be, was what I was going to be. Because I just wanted you to want me around. And that's a horrible feeling. So I did that for a few years, and then I got back out of it just because it was a lot. And at that point in time, like, it was, I wouldn't say functional because I wasn't functional, but it was kind of binge addiction. Like, I would go for a little while, and then I would decide to stop and come back and stay with family and do all that. So then I got in another relationship and had another son. I have 4 sons altogether.
What is your main drug of choice at this moment? Like, what
At
is
that moment, meth.
Okay.
I was doing ecstasy pills and meth. That's
Okay.
what I was doing. And so that relationship started out really good. He was really good for me. But at this point in time, I was way too broken.
Was he an addict also?
No.
No? Wow.
Like, he barely smoked weed. Like, he was in college. He was actually 4 years younger than I was. So he was 20 and I was 24 at that point in time. And so we had a really good relationship. And then I had our son. And then my dad got cancer. And my dad died. And so I never really had a good relationship with my mom. Like, ever. And so at that point in time, like, my dad was my person. And to see him, like, I was there when he passed away. I stayed there through like, I don't think I had my son at this point in time, actually. Let me back up. I just haven't told this story in a really long time. I was pregnant. And I remember that I was still pregnant because I was 7.5 months pregnant. And I stayed in a cot with my dad when he was in the hospital. And then I stayed at my grandpa's where we had his hospice. And so, like, I really just couldn't deal with that. And so when I had my son, I had postpartum. My dad had just died. And my mom, right before I had him, like, something happened and my back hurt. And so she gave me a pain pill. And that was it right there.
Dun, dun.
Yep, that was it. And so for the last part of that pregnancy, I took a lot of pain pills. Because back then, I don't know what they do now. I haven't had a kid in a really long time. But back then, Lortabs were the acceptable thing to give pregnant women.
Right.
So I had a reason to need them the entire time. And into my second pregnancy, the entire time I was pregnant with my last son, I was on pain medication. So My mom also, my parents were married for 28 years when my dad died. And so she lost it. And I became the person that took care of her. Mm. And then she was drinking, and I would have to go in the middle of the night and pick her up because somebody called me, because everybody knows everybody down there. And she's trying to go home with a car full of men. Like, I literally physically removed her from a truck one night, pregnant.
You're still in Tahlequah?
Mm-hmm.
Right, okay.
And so I really fucked that one up, honestly. I was a real piece of shit. And so as much as he tried to be there for me, I wasn't going to accept that. And I made it so much worse. And so that relationship ended. But at that time, I'm doing pain pills, I'm doing meth, I'm doing all of the things. And so he kept my son at his mom's house in Coweta. And I would go and see them, and I would stay there sometimes. But my addiction was really taking hold of me at that point in time.
Do you have your other two boys?
No.
Oh, so I was about to ask you.
Okay.
No, because he absolutely hated me. Like, he was the abusive one. Like, that one I'm not going to take credit for. Like, the next one, I did that. But the first one, he was mad because I had moved on. And so... Oh.
Quita.
So, but by then I'm almost like a super junkie at this point. And so he stopped letting me see him. So one night I waited, and I don't think I've ever even told anybody about this, but one night I waited until he was at work and went to his mom's house and kidnapped my son. Like, I did. I put him in the car and I left and didn't answer the phone, and I got a restraining order. But at that, I was so unstable, and like everything I was doing was just absolutely unacceptable, to the point that I lost a place to stay because I'm fighting with my mom at this point because we don't have a good relationship, and now I'm her drug dealer. And so if I don't give her what she wants, which I love you, Mom, and we've healed that part of us, but I lost my place to stay because I couldn't give her what she wanted one day. And so I had to call him. And the person that he was, I would not have came and got me. But he not only came and got my son, but he came and got me. And so when they served him the restraining order, I was actually there.
Wow. Wow.
So there's that. Like, I was a real piece of shit. Like, I really was, you know? And so that ended up not working out because I was still talking to the people I was doing drugs with. And I was coming off of opiates at that point in time, but I didn't admit that to him.
Had you withdrawn off opiates before this?
No.
So you didn't even know what you were in for?
No, it was terrible.
It is terrible.
It was the worst thing ever. So then I'm just like running around and sleeping on people's couches, and I have a lot of good connections, and I know how to make money because I'm really good at that. Like, I'm really good at selling drugs. And so that's why people wanted me around. So I got in another relationship and had another son. But he was in a relationship with somebody else.
Were they married?
No.
Okay.
Absolutely not. But...
I was going to ask that too.
No, not at all. But so I stole her boyfriend and then was super surprised when he also had another person other than me. I was very hurt by that.
Yeah.
And shocked. I was in shock. So,
son number 4.
Right.
How old are you at this time? 28, 29?
Yeah, about that.
See, I'm following the timeline.
You are. You're doing great. So when I had this son, and his mom was a crack addict. And so we had been living in an apartment with her. And so that wasn't working out in Muskogee. Okay. So we moved back to Tahlequah and stayed with my grandparents, which was a big deal because we were not married, and my grandpa does not allow that, you know, but he let us stay there with the baby. And I got an apartment. That's when I found out that there was somebody other than me, and it was this big thing. And he left, and I was devastated and in shock. And that's when I shot up meth for the first time. So this whole process, I had not ever been arrested. I was not on police radar. probably 2 months after I shot up for the first time, I caught my first felony for burglary 1. Yeah.
And this was back in Tahlequah or Muskogee still?
This is in Tahlequah.
Okay.
This is most of the things that I did were in Tahlequah. So, and what had actually happened was I saw my aunt's car at Walmart, and I was really mad at her. And I took her purse out of her car because I knew she kept it in there, and I threw it in the trash can at Walmart.
How'd they get you for
So they
burglary 1?
I didn't understand that either, but I guess because I was at the place that she was at.
Right. So burglary 1 it's an 85% charge, but it is breaking into a house when someone is there. You know, what makes burglary 2 is when you break into a house and no one's there. So going into her car and taking her purse when she's not even in the car, I don't understand that. But this small town Oklahoma for you.
Right, and I got a deferred sentence for that.
Yeah, so you got love.
I did, because it was my first offense. But I probably picked up, I have maybe 13 felonies.
Wow.
Yeah, altogether. So there was a lot of unauthorized use of a motor vehicle. And I claim most of my charges. Like, I can look at that and be like, yeah, I did all that shit, you know? But one of them was I borrowed my sister's car to go pick up what I needed to pick up. And I was super tired, so I fell asleep. And she called the cops and said I stole her car because I didn't bring her what I had promised her in a timely fashion. So there was that. So that's the only one that's a little shaky. The rest of it I did.
So did you get caught with something whenever you took your sister's car?
No.
Man, we got a gangster. You were like the most gangster girl we've had. So,
So, and I did a lot of stuff. You know, I helped money collect. I have stolen vehicle charges, unauthorized use of a motor vehicle charges. I have all kinds of things that I did. And so my last one,
do you have any of your kids with you at this time in your
No.
life? Okay, they're all with their father.
so my oldest two, their dad actually was a super alcoholic. And one night he got ran over in Tahlequah and he died.
Wow.
Yeah. But those two are completely adults, which I haven't had an opportunity to mend that relationship. I do send them messages and stuff all the time, and I'm leaving that open for them because the healed me realizes that I did all the mistakes. It's not up to me to force them to be okay with me.
Right.
Which sucks. But
And to our listeners, a lot of times when people get into recovery, you know, they think that, you know, they're gonna get their kids back, or they're gonna life's gonna be happily ever after. But sometimes people don't forgive you.
sometimes they
That's
don't.
just the truth. I mean, but as long as we keep our side of the street clean and we do our part, you know, that's on them after that. But
So, wait, where was I again?
you are running and gunning, 13 felonies in.
Okay.
Yeah.
So at this point, I've been in and out of county. I think I probably have been arrested and put in county like about 17 times. And
How old are you at this time?
28 or 29. It was very fast.
Wow.
Like once I got to that first felony, those other ones came real quick. Like real quick.
Okay.
So then I went in and they weren't going to let me out. But my cousin had my son, my youngest son, Darian. She took him for me because she had a daughter that was 9 days older than him.
So wait, which was the father that got hit and killed?
The one of the oldest two.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah. And that was actually recently. They were already adults by the time that happened. But he had a wife, and she took really good care of my kids. Like, I am unsure, but I'm pretty sure they called her mom. And so at this point, I'm really grateful that they had that in her when I wasn't able to be that, to be honest with you.
Right.
So I'm very blessed in the fact that even though I was never there, that God provided that for them in their lives, for every single kid that I was not there for, you know. So my cousin went and talked to the DA because she went to college with a lady that worked in the DA's
And this
office.
is in Tahlequah?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
And they gave me a suspended sentence and ordered me to do rehab. And so her grandma was actually the first person to ever take me to church when I was little. Like they had clothes for us and they would come and pick us up and then like give us a bath in the church bathroom and put clean clothes on us so that we were presentable while we were there. And then we would change and they'd take us home when I was like 6 or so. But so she called her and I actually went to, it's called Redwood Adult and Teen Challenge in the place that I was raised in Eureka, California. So
You went to Teen Challenge? Mm-hmm. I did too.
Oh, okay.
I didn't finish.
I actually spent more time there than I was supposed to because I was not ready. Like, I think I was there for 1.5 years. It's a year-long program. And I did graduate from there. But I still was doing the same thing. So I flew back there. But that's really the first place that I was introduced to God, like in a really heavy way. And the great thing about that place is you don't have outside contact, really. Like you get once you reach a certain level, you get a 10-minute phone call a week to call your family. Other than that, you are completely inside of this Jesus bubble, you know, and that's where I first started playing the guitar and being on a worship team and doing all of that stuff.
You can play the guitar?
I can.
Brooks plays guitar.
I'm not that good at it. I have like this mental block when it comes to strumming.
Okay.
So there's that. So I can do like the 4 count strum, and that's basically all I have with it, to be really honest with you.
Is that all you needed on the worship team?
I mean, honestly, yeah.
Most of the chords are G, C, D.
G, C, E minor, D.
And D,
That's
yeah.
all you're working with
Every
the
now
whole
and
time.
then,
So it's
every now
pretty
and then it's
good.
an A minor, but
I was
Yeah.
also going to say, Teen Challenge is actually a really hard thing to complete.
Yeah.
Shout out to Teen Challenge.
Well, and I got caught like doing stupid stuff like smoking because you're not supposed to smoke. So we would go on jobs and I would smoke and then somebody would be like so convicted and they'd have to go tell on themselves and then everybody's in trouble. Like at the end of it, I've actually handwritten more parts of the Bible than I care to admit because of the things. I had to write the entire book
Wow.
of Proverbs by
Wow,
hand.
really?
Yeah.
I had to too, like a few times.
Yeah, so then I almost got kicked out, and the director there, he was like, so this is what we're going to do. And he gave me 8 subjects, and I had to write devotionals to give, like in our morning devotions, because he said that I wouldn't listen to anybody else. Maybe I would listen to myself. And it was all about like honesty and integrity and all of that stuff. And I was just like,
Cool.
I mean, that's pretty fair. I do have a problem listening to people, you know?
So you get kicked out of Teen Challenge.
I didn't.
Oh, you didn't?
No.
almost got kicked out.
Almost,
That's why she had
okay.
to do the devotion.
Gotcha.
Yeah,
Right.
it was, and I handwrit, like they made me do like Deuteronomy 8 times, like 28 8 times, and that's like the cursings and blessings.
Yeah.
It was rough.
So you get out of Teen Challenge. You got how long sober?
So probably 1.5 years.
Okay.
When I
now,
went.
You have high hopes now, right?
Yeah, I had super high hopes because this was great and I was full of Jesus.
Right.
And it really doesn't prepare you for what the absence of that cocoon is when you go home.
Yeah, security bubble.
Yeah, because there you're not influenced by anything. Like
Right.
you don't have your own money.
There's no temptations.
There's nothing. Like basically you just do what you're told all the time, which is great. But so I get home and my cousin had kept my youngest son the whole time. And they were on vacation and they didn't want me to have to stay by myself. So they took me to my grandparents' house and I was there with my aunt and I had a really bad headache. And she, thinking she's helping, gives me a Loratab.
I knew that was coming. I saw that coming, I think, from a mile away.
Yeah, I mean,
What is it? My mom did that. You know, I love my mom, rest in peace, but
I've had a couple
I was in
situations
11th
like
grade.
that.
She did the same thing. It gave me a 7.5 Loratab for a headache. Man, it works.
It does.
Works well.
It does. It works really well.
Do not give your kids Loratabs if they got a headache.
Right. And so, and I don't, like, at one point in time, like, when I was trying to come up with any excuse of why it wasn't my fault, blamed her for that. But she thought she was helping. How was she supposed to know?
Right.
You know, she takes them every day, all day long, and she doesn't have a problem with it because she has a prescription.
Right.
And she has a reason to take them.
Well, and a lot of people who aren't in recovery, I noticed last time I got sober, everybody be drinking wine. They didn't want you to feel left out or something like that.
Yeah.
And not aware that that could send you off into a fucking full relapse.
They don't
you know?
understand how we think.
Right. And so when my cousin comes and gets me, I get a really good job, and I was a customer service rep. I made really good money, and I'm living at my cousin's house, and she thinks I'm sober the whole time. And if she watches this, I don't even think I've ever told her this, so there's that. But I mean, it's about transparency. I'm a different person now.
Straight up honesty.
Yeah. So she is helping me save my money. I get an apartment, and as soon as I'm out of her house, I'm freely using. So here's my mom again.
What are you using at this point? Are you back to meth?
Just pills.
Just pills?
Yeah.
Okay.
Just pills
Opiates.
at this time. Yep, just opiates.
And now, in your mind, are you thinking, I got control of this? Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Oh, 100%. I'm
Yeah,
sure.
because I'm working and I'm paying my bills, except I'm really not. But
But you
I've
think you
convinced
are.
myself
You're
I am.
telling
Yeah,
yourself
I'm
that
totally
story.
put together.
I'm not shooting meth. I'm not burglarizing cars, stealing cars. Yeah.
Doing
Right.
well, yeah.
So I think I only lasted 2 months in my own apartment. And then I moved in with my mom, and we're using together, and I'm the way that she's getting drugs. You know, it's easy to sit back and point out all the people that contributed to your addiction, but I have to admit that I played a huge part in my mom's.
You and your mom's relationship reminds me of mine and my mom's. We helped each other stay sick. And
Yeah.
I'm glad you got you know what I'm saying? Me personally, my mom passed away in a car wreck 23 days after I got out of prison this last time. And I did get to make my amends to her, but what you're saying right now just is bringing flashbacks to me and my mom.
And actually, me and my mom just recently started developing a healthy relationship because she's actually clean now.
That's awesome.
That's what's up.
Yeah. So, but she did pills, but hers was really alcohol too.
Yeah.
So then I decide I'm going to move in with my mom because she can babysit for me and I can help her pay bills because she doesn't have a job or any way to support herself. But that didn't last very long, to be honest with you. And so...
Did y'all fight a lot?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. We've fought our entire lives. But... So I'm in drug court at this point in time because I think I've picked up another charge, but I can't remember at this point what it was. There's no telling really
Right.
what
It's
it
like
was.
after the 10th felony, it really don't matter. It's
I
like-
mean, it really doesn't.
I can totally relate. That's why I'm saying that.
So now I'm in drug court, but I'm still using because, I mean, it's a really small town. And so I'm not going to specify, but when you're not being supervised taking your UAs, it's really easy to cheat on them.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Like super easy to cheat on them. So I wasn't sober the entire time I was in drug court.
Wow.
And going into drug court, before I went, I actually requested that I go to rehab. And so I went to Monarch in Muskogee because because DHS is involved at this point. And because me and my mom got in a fight, and I will say before I say this, that everyone has their own version of something that happens. And so her version might look a little different than mine because mine came from a place of hurt,
Right.
you know, but I didn't get her the pills that she wanted. And so she refused to watch my son while I went to drug court. And so I told her that I was going to take him with me because they can require that I be there. But if I don't have a babysitter, I'm just going to take him with me. And she called the cops. And, this might be hurtful to her, so I'm not going to go into details of exactly why that happened. But she did call the police. And so DHS was told that I didn't have a place to live and I had my son with me, which is true because she kicked me out. And so they put my son in a safety plan, but I got to pick where he went. And so it was actually my cousin that had previously had him. It was her best friend that took him.
And how old is he at this time?
He is 5.
Okay.
He is 5, 4 or 5. And so I went to Monarch because it's for women and children. And they give you so much counseling. And at some point, you know, after you go to all your meetings, they let you have your kid there with you, which happened. And so the cool thing about this part of my story is the lady that was the director, her name was Keisha, of Monarch, I actually knew through mutual people before because we were all in college at the same time and we used to go to the club together. So, but she had a lot of trauma too. And so it was probably the first person that could look at me and know exactly like what was going on. And I have a very masculine personality. Like, I don't understand things unless I know the why, you know? It's hard to heal from something when you don't understand why it happened. And so we had similar stories. And the thing about her was there was no sugarcoating. Like, she is just like I am. Like, if she has something to say, she's going to say it. And if it hurts your feelings, then, I mean, it hurts your feelings. It doesn't make it any less true that it's hurtful. And, you know, that's the thing that people don't like, is to hear things that hurt their feelings. Mm-hmm. So, I mean, and I was just as bad there. And I think that my relationship with her was a huge blessing because I got called in for so many different things that I would sit there dead face and just lie. You know, and the turning point in that for me was we were vaping, we were having relationships with each other. Like, there was this whole situation, like it was terrible. And so she took us all into the classroom one day and she said, you get one free pass and you're going to sit for the next hour and you're going to write everything you've done since you've got here that you were not supposed to do. And you will not receive consequences for that. Like, we've got to get this out of the way. Like, secrets keep you sick.
Yeah.
And so we wrote them all down, and at the bottom of
I got to add, is this an all women's rehab? Okay.
Yeah.
All right, go ahead.
So at the bottom of it, I wrote every single thing you've called me into the office for that I said I didn't do, I did. Every last one of them. You know, and from that point, it was kind of like a turning point. You know, because I did have a clean slate. And I actually stayed there longer than I was supposed to, too. I think I stayed 9 months. It was 6 months. And so they suggested that I go to, like, step down from the in treatment, which there you got to have a job. They gave you parenting classes. They gave you all of these things. And they suggested that I go to maybe like a sober living or something like that. My drug court supervisor would not let me do it. He said I'd already been gone for 9 months. I needed to come back there. So I did that. Mm-hmm. And I got high. Like, that's...
How long after you got that back?
Probably a week. Probably a week, honestly. So I was on TANF, and they put you on that when you're in this program with your kids, and they assign you, and this is what started it. They assign you different places to go and work, like a certain amount of hours that participate in the program. And I had my own house again, and I had my son back, and DHS decided to assign me to clean the police station. So that was a quick spiral.
What, you got an evidence locker?
No, it's just being there, you
This
know.
is what I'm thinking.
With all these cops that arrested me, and you know, like, and they know the people I know, and they're asking me questions, and I'm like, just because, like, I'm absolutely not. Like, that's not the person that I am. And so in order to get away from that, I stopped going, which canceled my ability to pay my bills at that point. And then I was still taking pills, and I had ran out of pills. And that withdrawal, like, I knew what it was that time, and I was not willing to do it. So I did a shot of meth so that I didn't have to feel that withdrawal.
Right.
And I had told, like, we were drinking a little, like, I went to drug court, like, drunk on tequila one time. Like, I was shit-faced. And the other people in the group, they were like, you're going to sit on this end, don't say anything.
Yeah, they could smell it.
Yeah, because I was shit. Like, alcohol's never been my thing because I'm such a lightweight that I'm fun for maybe, like, 43 whole seconds. Like, I've never been a drinker ever, which is probably a blessing anyways, you know? And so then, because people talk when they're high, somebody tells them how I'm cheating on my drug test. And so then I'm supervised and I can't. And I'm like, well, here we go, you know? And so they put me in again, but they were motioning to revoke my drug court, but I had a really good lawyer then. And she comes in and she tells me that they forgot to fill out a certain paper that is like the arrest part of that situation. All they filed is the motion. And so she said, if you terminate your own drug court right now, I'll get you another court date and you can just get out today.
Wow.
So I did that. And in the process of that, I needed to make some money to pay for all the lawyers and the bondsmen and all the things. And so I went on a run. And I think we went all the way to Fayetteville. And then came all the way back, dropping off. And so I actually brought my booking photo because what do you do when you get super high is you go to the casino
Yeah.
in this stolen vehicle.
I gotta see this, Pat. Yeah.
So this is my picture.
You look completely different.
Let me see.
That doesn't even look like you.
I lied about my weight. I probably weigh
Oh
like
my God.
91 pounds in that picture.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, you look like a skeleton. Mm-hmm. That's August of 2018.
I'm almost 2 whole people of that at this point in time.
Wow.
Wow. Damn.
So when they got me for that, and this is what my charges were because they're at the bottom. I had possession of CDS, possession of paraphernalia, firearm in commission of a felony,
That's the big one.
felony with a firearm, possession of a stolen vehicle over $1,000.
Them firearm ones.
Mm-hmm.
Ugh.
And so this was in Siloam Springs, so I'm in Delaware County, so I'm in a whole different place that doesn't know me.
That's around J, ain't it?
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Yeah. So, and they told me if you just tell us who you were with, because it was me and a guy, but the guy disappeared, and here I am with all the things, you know, that, we can work with you if you talk. And I'm like, I mean, at this point, I'm not that person, but even if I was, like, nobody's letting me out of jail anyways. Like, I kept trying to tell him that. But I remember calling my grandma because through, my mom was still in addiction. At that point in time, I didn't have anybody, but my grandparents, who, and I love you guys, are the most judgiest people I've ever met in my life. They were with me every single rehab. My grandpa, like the biggest thing was my grandpa coming to visit me when I was in prison. Like they drove all the way to here because I was at Cape Bernard and came and visited me, and they supported me through every single part. But I knew, how my grandma felt about it. And so I called her from jail, and it's probably 11 o'clock, midnight, 1 o'clock, something like that. And she just was so upset again because I was in jail again. But this time I was just like when I got arrested this time, it was almost like relief.
Yep.
Like, I was so tired.
Now, I always say, like, there's that moment of surrender, like that
Yeah.
moment that we decide that we are done, and you just know.
And it happened when I was on the phone with my grandma, because I'm like, I'm in Jay. I got arrested again. And she's like, oh, well, what now? And I said, I'm just going to go to prison this time.
Yeah.
Like, I'm so exhausted. Like, I'm just completely done. And so that's what I did. And I stayed in there, and
Did you go straight to Cape Bernard?
I went to Mabel's and then
Okay.
to Cape Bernard.
Track down. Okay.
But so I went to court, and I had this public defender that obviously did not even look at my previous record before we went, because she's like, well, I think I can get you in a program. And I said, well, if you can get me 10 nonviolent or less, I'll sign today. And she's like, well, don't just go to, because they offered 10. But I was like, I do not want to do 8.5 years. Like, I really don't.
Was it an 85-10?
It was.
Oh, man.
Because of the in commission of a felony.
Yep. In commission. Yep.
And so that's what I told her. I was like, if you looked even for 2 seconds at my record, you would know that, like, a program's not going to work. They're not going to give me one. And that's fine. I don't even want one at this point. Like, I don't. And so I told her if they made it 10 nonviolent or less, I would go. And they did.
They gave you a 10? So did
They
they
gave me
drop
10,
that one
yep.
charge? Yeah. So-
They dropped the in commission of a felony off of it and just gave me felon in possession of a firearm. And so I signed. And I went 2 weeks later. I pulled chains 2 weeks later. And, like, I was just in a different place this time. You know, like, I wasn't anxious about it. I wasn't nervous. Like, this is what I have to do, because of, you know, you pray and you pray and you pray for God to save you and give you a way out. And it doesn't always look like what you think it's gonna.
That's right.
You know, said the prayer, and then there were cop lights, and I'm like, okay. Like, if this is what I gotta do, this is what I gotta do.
Yeah.
So I went, and, like, the coolest thing was when I got there, my bunkie was really awesome. Her name's Peyton. She's probably the thing that set my path in the direction that it was in once I hit that yard.
Yeah.
Because she was like, this is my story, and I have a 5 nonviolent. And she was like, I think she went over 5 because of the things that she had done. And she's like, you're not going to be like that, you know? And so if there were things going on in the yard or people that she knew that were not good people, like, she would come out and be like, no, get your ass back in there. You're not, we're not friends with them. We're not talking to them, you know? And she really, like, helped me solidify my mindset in there. And so I went through, what was it? I don't even remember what it was called, but it was rehab in there. And so that took 1,100 days off my sentence to complete that. And it also let me get a job with Closed Records where I made 60 cents an hour.
Nice.
So I didn't really have to do anything that I was used to doing for money. I had it,
Yeah.
you know. And so I participated in a lot
And
of...
60 cents an hour on the yard is pretty good.
That's a lot. That's a lot. You know, and we worked a lot of hours. We worked from like 7 to 5, 6 days a week. So, I mean, it was a decent amount of money. Then they taught me how to make house shoes. So I think your daughter actually has the pair that I made your wife.
Really?
We used to make them out of shower shoes.
Are they the Nightmare Before Christmas ones? Okay, that's the ones my wife always wears. Is this damn Nightmare Before Christmas house shoes.
No, they're crocheted.
Okay.
So we would crochet them onto shower shoes, and we could wear those. So it took like $3 to get the supplies for it, and you could charge 10.
Nice.
So made a little side gig off of that. But I also went to every church service I could go to, you know, and I tried to serve in any way I could. And then we had a choir for the church services, and I was in that. And eventually the one who was leading that asked me to step in and lead it. So I was the church choir leader. And then we did the sign language praise team, you know, so I did a lot of that too, which we've brought that into the church on the outside as well. But really, like, I think that the thing that was different this time was because even though I hadn't, like, it's about planting seeds. Like, I've been through rehab after rehab. And in the time that I was there, I wasn't ready for that information. But the seed was planted. And so I utilize so much stuff now from then that I ever thought that I would. You know, I still talk to Keisha, the one who was my counselor when I was in Monarch. Like, we went through a situation and I FaceTimed her and she picked up. And now actually, which I don't know if I'm supposed to say, but I'm going to say it anyways. Now she has followed another calling, and she is the behavioral health supervisor or mental health supervisor at Just Done. So she has switched jobs as well.
Wow.
Yeah. So
Actually, my old case manager at Avalon works at Just Done, and she's the one that hooks me up with Keefy coffee all the time. Shout out.
man, I want some of those beans and those chips so bad. I told your wife, I said I would just want to beat them up and take it.
Man.
Because you just can't get the same thing out here.
No.
I don't know, man. Some people that were locked up are like, how can you eat that shit? And I'm like, oh. You can't get those refried beans out
You
here.
really
can't
can't.
get Keefy coffee out here.
You can't.
Was it Brush Creek? Is it Brush Creek?
It's Sebia?
Sevia and Brush Creek and Keefy.
I don't know.
I thought they were selling that shit on Amazon. It was more
Oh, no,
expensive.
Keefy on Amazon is $25, and that's not even
bought
with
a
shipping.
bag of whole shebang chips for
Yeah.
like freaking $27
That's
on
insane.
Amazon one time.
Wow.
And I bought it too. I paid it too. I didn't even care.
So what does life look like
Yeah,
today?
that's what I was about to ask.
So-
Where you at now?
So, you know, I went through a lot of transition because I was done.
Right.
You know, and so I did sober living. I did that for longer than I was supposed to. When I get comfortable, I like to stay there, you know. And so I really served in the church. I was on the worship team. Turns out that's just the thing that God uses to
Was you
pull
doing
me
any
in.
12-step programs?
No.
No? Okay.
No, I did not, because those weren't really available when I first started my recovery journey, and even on the yard.
Yeah.
Like, something had happened and they weren't coming in. So that just wasn't anything that I had available to me when I was building my foundation for recovery.
Right.
You know, and so my husband used to come into prison and minister when I was in there.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
That's
So
really cool.
it's really funny when people ask how we met. I say in prison, and it makes them really like. But so it wasn't until 3 years later, when I'm teaching a sign song to his daughter in church, that we were even reintroduced to each other. And so after moving out of sober living and doing all that thing, like, he's also in recovery. So, and I don't want to say the wrong person or the wrong thing or whatever, so we'll just leave it there. But actually, after I got married, my husband relapsed on alcohol.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So, because then when we started talking, he was in sober living at Solid Rock Recovery.
Yeah.
And so,
Shout out Solid Rock.
yeah, I love them.
Yeah.
Really. I
Christo.
love Christo.
Shout out
Christo's
to
awesome.
Christo.
Yeah.
So he was actually, and this is maybe the turning point where I knew like I was good, where I was really just solid in my recovery, was because, and that's the emergency that I FaceTime my old counselor in, you know, and she asked me, she's like, well, how are you right now? Like, do you feel like using? I'm like, no, like, this shit does not look good. Like, that's not anything I'm interested in right now. But I had asked him, like, what do you need to get good? And he told me. And so that's why it's so important to build these relationships, because I immediately called whoever he told me to call. We talked to Christo. He went to detox. He went back and stayed with Christo. And really, he took me in a meeting so we could all have a conversation together, you know, and and came up with a plan for that to happen. And now my husband is in a clean and sober motorcycle club, which is, you know, everybody needs something different. And being in recovery isn't like the thing that people want to avoid talking about anymore. You know, it's actually way more common than it used to be.
It's the new cool thing.
It really is.
Yeah.
So,
It
you know,
needs to be too.
I like to be crass with it. Like, I had worked as a server at Red Lobster. That was the first job I got when I got out. Like, I walked in there straight off the yard, and my favorite person in this entire world, her name's Tracy. She was like, okay, well, you can host then. We'll figure it out, you know, and she gave me a chance to do that. And so I had dropped like a Starburst on the floor, and it was my last one. And it was a pink one. And I was like, and so I picked it up, and I like dusted it off and ate it. And somebody's like, I can't believe you just did that. And I was like, it was my last pink Starburst. Like, what do you mean? And they're like, but you ate it off the floor. I said, I used to shoot up meth. I'm probably fine.
Yeah.
Like, the Starburst probably didn't do anything to me. You know, and so now, like, and I always thought, you know, everybody picks like the best thing they think they could be, and that's their calling. And I always thought it was worship. Turns out it's not, you know. And so I don't like adult people. Like, I don't have time for that. I don't have time for your excuses. I don't have time for you to play a victim when you made your choices in life. You know what I mean? Because I had to come to a place where I really had to self-reflect a lot and take ownership for my part in things. Like, my mom, she was like, well, I didn't think your husband was going to like me. And I said, well, why not? You know, because she'll come and stay with my dogs when we go on motorcycle trips and stuff. And she's like, well, I thought you probably told him stories. I said, I did, but at this point, like, who effing cares? Yeah. Like, honestly, like, we don't have to rehash it. We don't have to do all that. I don't have to tell you everything you did wrong to me and have you own it. Like, who cares? Like, and that's what made me realize, like, where a place of real forgiveness came from. You know, because I'm not holding it against her anymore. Like, were we good for each other? No. But at the same time, like, I can't look at everything she's done to me without looking at everything I've done to her.
Well, and there's nothing you can do about what happened in the past.
I mean,
Straight
honestly,
up.
there's nothing. Like, whatever. We are here. You know, everybody operates from the place that they know. Like, you only know what you know, and you can only do what you do. And that's for everybody. And so that's what a lot of it helped me. And this helps me with what I'm getting into on what I believe my calling is to help people that were the people that I was when I developed all of my personality defects and whatever. You know, I was so broken and I didn't want to voice what was wrong with me. And I sat and I was so alone with everything that happened, you know. And so now I go, and so it's called House of Healing. And it is a Christ-centered program. And we do a scripture. We have horses. That's how they got me pulled in, was the horses. And I'm like, yes, I'll volunteer. You know, I don't really care much for the children, but there's horses, so I'll go, you know. But it's like the connections you make when you see, like, I was a cutter. I was an addiction. I struggled with homosexuality for a time in my life because of just needing to be acceptance. It wasn't ever who I was, but it was what got me the attention I thought I needed. You know, it was the currency of love that I was familiar with. So, and mental health things. Like, I had a girl, and she really struggled because, you know, her parents said, well, Jesus is enough. You don't need mental health medication. Like, I don't think you should be on medication. And I got to be like, well, I was on 7 different medications. I was like, and they're all drug induced, but like a sociopath, I was diagnosed as one of those one time, paranoid schizophrenic, all of it. You know, I was on 7 different medications until I decided I didn't want to be. But I went about it the right way. Like, you can't just be like, oh, Jesus is enough. Like, I'm just going to run around here unmedicated. Like, I went to a doctor and I was supervised while I took myself off of all these medications and learned coping skills in order to be able to do it. Because my reaction to depression medication is suicidal thoughts. So I can't really take that. You know, I have tried to kill myself on multiple occasions when I was a teenager. I was bulimic. I was anorexic. I was all of the things to try to be what I thought people wanted me to be. And so now to be able to sit here and like understand where somebody is at, like these broken little teenagers, and be a sounding board for that. Like I have the ability, it doesn't matter what you tell me about yourself, I'm non-reactive. Like it's not a big deal. I don't have to tell you, oh, I know how you feel, because you don't. Like even if you've been through something that somebody else has been through, you don't have their history. You don't have their
Everybody's
mental.
wired differently,
Yeah,
too.
everybody's wired differently. Like I can understand where you're coming from, but I don't understand how you feel. Like, and that's been a really big way for me to connect with them.
I like the way you put that. Yeah.
Yeah, because what's the worst thing somebody could tell you when you're trying to open up and tell them something?
Yeah.
Right. You know, and that never helped me.
No.
So I've really tried to develop that, you know, and what we do is we give these, and we have boy classes as well. I just participate in the ones for the females. But we also just provide a safe place for you to figure out who you are. Like I went 30 some odd years with never knowing who I was as a person because I was too busy trying to be everything else, you know, and so to be there for somebody and help them discover who they are, help them figure out what God says about them, help them know that it's okay to not be okay sometimes. Like you don't always have to be happy, or you can be sad and grieving something at the same time that you're grateful for what you have. Like those feelings are not completely different. Like you can have multiple. God gave us feelings for a reason, and he gave them every single one of them. Like you're supposed to feel all the feelings, and it's okay to feel like that, you know?
So today, what is your life like with your sons?
So actually,
And how old are they today, all of them?
So they're 3 years apart. My oldest is about to turn 21.
Wow.
Yeah. So they just all stepped down exactly 3 years from that. So my oldest two, you know, I reach out, but if they're not ready to talk to me, I can't force them to do that. Like we're here because of me. And so I'm trying to think of how old he would be. This is terrible. He's 15. So his dad is very present in his life. He's with his grandma. They live in Coweta. His dad does actually not allow me to speak to him because of how I've hurt him. And I'm not really in a position, you know, there's a family member that I speak to and we communicate that way. So my son knows that I love him, and he knows that it's not me that's the reason that I'm not around. Wow. So that one's a really hard situation for me. You know, so my youngest son, and I might cry this time. So he lived with the one who I put him in a safety plan with off and on like forever. You know, the whole time I'm going through this, the whole time I'm in prison, the whole time I'm in all my rehabs. And so by the time I'm ready to be what he needs that from somebody else. Like it would do more harm for me to actually take him from that situation with the two brothers he's grown up with.
Well,
with
and what's best for him,
the mom and dad that he grew up with. And so I had talked, her name's Camille. I had talked to her, and she had told me that she needed to talk to me about something. And so I called her, and she said that she didn't know how I would feel about her adopting him, legally adopting him. And he just, like, I know how it feels to not have your place and not belong somewhere. And so he lived in a place of fear that he would be removed from that situation. And so in order to give him the security that he needed,
you did what was best for him.
I did.
Yeah, 100%.
And it was really hard. But all I can do, like, I can't change the damage that I did, but it's in my power to make sure that they have what they need, even if it's not me. And it's not right now. I mean, right now it could be.
Well, there's no telling what God has planned either,
Right.
you know?
And now I have all these other children that, I can be there for. So that kind of helps a little as well. So really, like the biggest part of my testimony is God.
Man, that is the solution, guys.
100%.
Every time I did anything, it was God. I just kept getting pulled back. And so I try to just really, I can't love people the way Jesus does. I can't.
I don't
Because
think anybody
really
can.
I don't really like people,
I struggle with that a lot, and part of my program is I have to give back. But again, babysitting adult children, it's a lot. I mean, I don't.
So we had a question for you, and you're going to have to leave a question for the next guest, okay? So I want you to think on that, but I also want you to answer the last question.
I Googled and I can't find it.
Yeah, they said you weren't allowed to Google, but we're gonna let you.
Yeah,
Google.
I don't know I'm not fun like that. Like that's.
I couldn't have answered that one either. I mean, that was.
I don't think I know a riddle.
I don't know a riddle either. I mean,
Okay.
Oh no, I do know one.
What can you catch but not throw?
Feelings?
I mean,
pretty good. But
that was pretty good. A cold.
a cold.
That's the.
There you go. That's a Laffy Taffy riddle,
It
guys.
really was.
So what would be your question? We're not going to tell you who the next guest is. I doubt you would even know him, but
Probably not.
he works with cakes.
He's awesome.
He's cool.
With what?
Cakes.
Cakes.
He's an artist.
He makes
of
cakes.
sorts.
Yeah.
He's a
Like these super-
dessert.
But he's like an OG cake maker. He ain't like he ain't baking.
He
no
does
regular ass
those
cakes.
really like cake or fake kind of things. You know what I mean? So you can't tell if it's real or not. Or
Oh, I wouldn't like that. That would make me uncomfortable.
So that's all you're gonna know about him. But what question do you have for him?
I don't
Any question?
like what.
Anything. It's your question.
it could be recovery based. It can be something like that.
Something silly. You can. Yeah.
You guys are gonna have to help me.
Okay, so like some of the other questions we had were, what is your why?
That has been the most common question. Is what is your why?
But it can be, you can leave it up to interpretation. You can,
It could be like, what is your biggest regret?
Yeah, that one works. Let's
Okay.
do that one.
There you go.
Okay.
What is your biggest regret?
Oh, that's a horrible question.
Yeah.
But
When
we
you
leave
have-
it up for interpretation.
When you have so many,
Yes.
and just to say, like, at this point in time, I'm happy where I'm at, Like, I wouldn't be the person that I am without my things, but I do have regrets. Like, everybody likes to say, like, oh, I don't regret anything. But I do. People do. And that's okay.
And I always ask one off the wall question to our guests. So I'm gonna ask, Tupac or Biggie?
Tupac, I'm from California.
Yes. That's what's up.
Oh, that's good.
Do you have anything you want to?
Man,
I think he's been asleep this whole
Yeah,
no,
time.
no, no,
He's
no, no.
awake yet.
I've been awake. I love your story.
Yeah, we're really grateful for you coming on here. I know
Oh, for sure.
you
I
don't know
was
any of
like-
us. You know Bradley a little bit, but
I was kind of like you. Like I got that possession of firearm, commission of felony. Got that. I got it taken off, and ended up doing 8 years non-violent. Then caught another firearm charge.
You did?
Yeah, I got.
Oh, wow.
I got 3 firearm
It is
charges.
kind of similar.
well,
then.
I love how like our guests like I find similarities because I was at a boys' home for a 9-month thing that wound up being a 3-year thing.
Oh,
that
yeah.
was I had my major course of study for high school was Bible literature, so it was very much a lot of similarities there. So I
and
really
then
appreciate your story.
my similarity was our moms. Like
Yeah.
you and
Yeah.
your mom being like drug buddies. That's how me and my mom
Yeah, that's hard.
were. And
That's same thing here.
Well, I think it's cool. Like similar with my mom, she just got 20 years sober, so it's been
Wow.
really cool to
Oh,
be.
that's cool.
be
My
able to-
mom's newly
Congratulations.
sober. My mom's newly sober.
Congratulations, Brooks' mom.
yeah, congratulations.
I don't know if she's watching.
And
She's usually
Candace's
on
mom.
Facebook at 4 a.m.
Congratulations.
So
Well, guys, I got a 20-year high school reunion I got to go to, and it's about a 2-hour drive from here.
So follow us on Facebook at Been Around the Block Podcast, and follow us. We have a Facebook, and we also have a group, Been Around the Block. We also have a YouTube page, Been Around the Block, and
we missing something?
Spotify
and Apple Music.
Yep.
Apple Podcasts.
And we got a new. What is your character's name again? Our skit.
It's Butch
Martin. Butch Martin and Black Eye. It's
Black
not,
Eye.
Black Eye, not Black Guy.
I fucking love you.
Chucky D's. We got another skit coming soon, guys.
And if you guys could figure out where the producer's name came from,
yes,
man, 100 cool points to you. And we'll do a skit just for you.
Yeah, hey, y'all figure out how did he get the name Butch Martin?
Because we all know. But if you can come up with that, we will do a skit tailored to you.
And Kandis, have you watched any of our skits?
They're pretty
Black Eye
ridiculous.
skits?
Yeah, I had to tell Carly, I'm like, I'm stalking your husband on Facebook and I don't understand how it happened. Like, I get notifications every time he posts something. Like,
one of my favorite things about that is because I've got some friends that have hit me up and they're like, I don't fucking like him. But now all of a sudden they're following him. They're like, oh man, well, you got new shit coming out? You got to send it to me, bro. I'm
Hey,
like,
that is that's one of my favorite things. Is like a lot of people don't like me, and like they have never met me. It's cool though.
Yeah,
everybody turns though. They're like, okay.
One of my friends is like a troll on your page,
and he don't like me.
Now he likes you. He's like he knows me and you are good friends, and shout out to him. And he gave me a job, and that's who saved my life.
Hell yeah.
Candace, we really appreciate you coming on.
Yeah,
Thanks for
thank you
having
so
me.
much. And
Thank you.
like I said,
Candace.
we'll be
Do you have
posting that
any
soon.
last words?
no.
Okay.
Well, I do want to shout out my friend Christian Stinson to his family. He passed away last week, and everyone keep you in his prayer. Pray for his mom, and I hope everything goes well.
All right. Thank you, guys.
All right.
Been around the block.
Man, I hope the
Been around the block.